Now, having a clean home is incredibly important to all of us, and one of the things that I find most challenging about keeping our home clean is really knowing when you have cleaned the floor thoroughly. Even if you mop it, or you sweep it, or you vac it, did you actually clean up all the debris? Is it clean? Well, it's a challenge, and I know a question that many of you ask, and it's something that I've asked myself. And in today's video, we're taking a look at a product that answers that question. But more than just answering it, it makes it incredibly easy for you to keep your home and your floor spotless, clean, because it tells you if it's dirty or not. Today, we're going to take a look at the Roborock Dyad Pro Wet and Dry Vac. And we're also going to compare this product to another product that's also available that's called the Tenico S5. Let's go ahead and check out the specs. Now, the specs for the Roborock Dyad Wet and Dry Vac are very similar to those of the Tenico S5, but there are some major differences that we're going to see here. First of all, from a price perspective, you're looking at both products retailing for $4.99, right? Very common. And both of them have smart sensor technology that detects if your floors are dirty or not. So it's basically going to indicate with the red portion of the ring that you'll see on the actual devices if there's dirt or not. Not only will it detect with this little sensor and indicate it visually, but depending on the intensity of the dirt, both of these machines are going to increase power and suction so that they can do a better job cleaning, right? But what I'll tell you right now, the actual Roborock, the Dyad Pro, was able to detect and clean more than the Tenico in our test. And you're going to see this as we go along. Now, the Roborock also the Dyad Pro has multiple rollers. It's not a single roller like the Tenico does. Now, this is going to be a big difference when it comes to scrubbing as well as picking up debris. In our tests, when we did these tests and we, for example, picked up the Fruit Loops, the actual Roborock, and you'll see this, basically devoured the Fruit Loops. It just chomped it up and ate it up really quick, while the single roller solution tends to spit the actual Fruit Loops out, and then you have to go a longer distance to pick them up. Now, given the fact that you have these multiple rollers, what you're going to find is also that the Dyad Pro has a 500 RPM compared to the Tenico S5 that has a 450 RPM. Suction is also very different. The actual Roborock is just massive when it comes to its ability to absorb content, and that's both liquid and dry material, or even that material that has to suck up or crunch up, as you would say it. 17,000 PAs is what you're talking about. That is massive. It also supports voice prompts, which, by the way, both of them do, and they also have mobile apps, but the mobile app on the Roborock is vastly more robust and covers more features. From a battery life, 43 minutes of runtime compared to 35 minutes. And the Roborock Dyad Pro has multiple modes: an auto, a max, an eco, and a floor drying mode. So if you do spill something and all you want to do is suck up that liquid or it's extra water and you don't really have to worry about just the cleaning, you have that mode. In the actual Tenico, you only have two. You have an auto and you also have a max. Now, the water capacity is also slightly different on both of these, with a clean water tank on the Dyad Pro of 0.9 liters and then the clean water tank on the Tenico at 0.8. You also have a dirty water container, slightly larger again on the Dyad Pro. Now, one of the things that I really like about the Dyad Pro is that it has a auto dispensing cleaning solution compartment. This is not something that you find inside of the Tenico. Literally what you have to do is when you fill up the water container, you have to take a little cap, drop the liquid inside of it, a cap full, and that's how you mix things together. This is something that you really don't have to worry about when you're working with the Dyad Pro, because it has a separate little compartment that you fill up with liquid, and it automatically will dispense how much cleaning solution it's going to need over a period of time until it extinguishes it. Something that I really like. The other thing is that the Dyad Pro does have a very, very close edge-to-edge cleaning solution. So it gets extremely, extremely close to the corners. And I think that that also made a difference when it came to dirt detection, because the actual Tenico doesn't have that close of a system getting very close to the corners of your wall. So I found that even after cleaning the area with one vac and going with the other, the actual Dyad was able to find dirt, even though the Tenico said it was already clean. Now, both of these are going to have self-cleaning modes. which means that as soon as you put them back in the docking station, they're going to go through a cycle and clean. But there is a difference. With the Dyad Pro, you actually have a self-drying mode, which means that it's going to clean and also then dry them, so you're not going to have any kind of odor coming from it. And we're talking dry, I mean dry. There's no moisture there. Now, from a loudness perspective, you're looking at around 77 dB compared to 78 dB. There's not a lot of big difference there, but you know that does exist. And then from a weight perspective, you can see that the weight is also similar, but a little bit different. So let's take a closer look at both of these products in action. And again, remember, I have 4 palms. I have them running through the house, going outside, coming in. But we also went through several torture tests to give you a sense of what the experience is going to be like and which one you should be trusting on your floors.
Now, the very first thing we're going to take a look at are the bases. The actual docking station for the Roborock seems to be more substantial, and it's a lot more sturdier, and I'm going to highlight just a couple things that I've noticed. First of all, the base here is something that you can separate, which is important because if you want to wash this area, you can. And what I like about the ability to separate is that the charging solution is actually found underneath the base. It's not on the side, on either side or the back. It's actually underneath the base, which for me, I find it to be a little bit more secure or protective in that way. The other thing that you'll notice is the charging mechanism. And here, the charging mechanism seems to be somewhat in an angle, and this one is upright. I've already noticed that at times when I place this product inside the docking station, the Tenico, what ends up happening is I find that it doesn't always catch and start charging. So I have to shift it around sometimes or replace it a second time in order for it to charge. I don't have that problem with the Roborock whatsoever. Now, you do have the ability to have some accessories, which I think is very nice with this one right here. But I don't find it really necessary. I really don't like seeing accessories out. I actually think I prefer them to be tucked away. It looks a little bit messy. So that's not, to me, a pro or a con. You do have on the same side for the Roborock, you do have the ability to have a wand stuck on that other side. But I'm of the same mind. I really want this to be as clean as possible. So I literally don't put them on either one. Now, looking at the robots, and we'll start from the bottom up. The first thing that you'll notice with both of them is that the Dyad has a much wider area. So it's much longer this way. From a width perspective, they're very similar. We're going to put them side by side, you know, one in front of the other so you can see it. But again, the Dyad is much longer when it comes to this way, and that's because it has 2 rollers. In this case, the Tenico only has 1 roller, right? So that's one thing to highlight. Now, the other thing that you'll notice is on the Roborock that on the side, the Dyad has actually a detergent container. So I put some detergent there, and that means that it's going to continually add detergent. All you have to do is switch the water. When we take a look at the compartment for the Tenico, you're not going to find that there is a separate detergent compartment. You actually have to take a cap, pour it into the water, and then mix it yourself. So I think that this, from an experience perspective, is superior. The other thing you'll notice is that on this side right here, there's this wide area. That's where you're going to put your foot when you pull it back. Again, giving you kind of an area where you can actually shift it back so that you can start using it. You don't have anything on this side. However, I've been doing it the same thing on this side, just putting my foot there to cock it back so that I can clean. So I still think from a ergonomics and a usability that the Dyad has a better implementation. Now, from a width perspective, both of them seem to have the same width. So as far as the actual coverage when they're cleaning, they're very similar. The big difference, though, is that the Dyad has the ability to get much closer to the corners that you see right there versus what you were getting from, again, the Tenico. Now, both of them have 2 sets of wheels, one on each side, that is going to allow you to navigate these really nicely when you're going on the floor. They both feel rubber, right? So they're going to be equal when it comes to that, except that you see the Dyad seems to be a little bit larger. Now, the Tenico doesn't have a front water compartment. You notice here it's just pretty much flush. This is where the dirty water goes, and we'll remove it so you can see what it looks like. So here what you have is the actual filter. If you were to pull this apart, you do have the water area. It does have a little strainer. You can see that I have some gook in there already because we have a home that has 4 Pomeranians, and they do make a mess. So you can see the water container here, and you can already see that we've been using it, and it has some dirt in there for sure. Now, the dirty water container for the Dyad Pro is very similar to the one that you just saw, but there's a difference here. First of all, you do have a similarity where you have a filter here. And as we open this up, we'll go ahead and pop this out really quick. you'll notice that there is a larger strainer area, right? So the cool thing about this is that you're going to be able to use this in two ways. One is as you're emptying out the debris, you could use this as a strainer to keep all the debris. And then also this is going to filter stuff out as garbage or debris is coming in here. So much larger area than what you saw a couple seconds ago with that guy as we were taking things apart. Now another difference that you have with the Dyad is that it does have a clean water container, and that's in the front. This is just clean water. It's not a mixture of any kind of cleansing material or cleaning material. This is also larger, so this is actually 0.9 liters versus what you have with the Tenico, which is 0.8 liters. Now on the top of both of these units, you do have displays. Hands down, the Tenico has the largest display. It is bright, it is informative, and in both of these, you're going to see a red line showing up anytime it detects dirt. So both of them are very easy to display, but this one for sure has the largest display. This one, the display is kind of cut down somewhat because the clean water container is in the front. Now the handle to both of these units are very similar. You'll notice that you have the power button in front, you have cleaning, you have mode switching as well. You also have an additional functional button at the very top. So I would say that they're pretty similar. And also you'll notice from a height perspective, they're almost the same height. Now on the back of the Tenico is where you're going to find your water, and you also have your reset button right here. This is a button that you'll be able to use to press to hear if you want the voice prompts. And also this is what you would press to reset the Wi-Fi. This is what the water container looks like. You can see that right there. But this is again going to have the detergent, and it's going to have your clean water. And this is something that you'll have to refill every so often. As you refill the water, you're going to have to put detergent and you're going to have to put water. You don't have to worry about that with the Dyad. And that's what I really like about that. I like that the detergent is just on one side. You can see how much detergent you have, and all you have to do is refresh the water when you need more water. Now, as you look at both products, from a form factor perspective, they're pretty similar, but there are differences. First of all, as you look at the RPMs, the Dyad Pro has a 500 RPM versus the Tenico having a 450. You do have both of these voice prompts, as we discussed. You have mobile apps for both of them, but the runtime on the Roborock is a little bit slightly higher. You're looking at 43 minutes for the Roborock, and you're looking at 35 for the Tenico. You also have an Auto, Max, Eco, and floor drying mode here with the Roborock. So that's going to give you a lot more flexibility on your usage. When you're looking at the Tenico, you only have Auto or Max. Now the noise being generated from both of these units is around, for the Roborock 77 dB, and then for the Tenico is going to be 78 dB. So I find them to be very close when it comes to that. Now last thing before we actually have them running, just want to highlight once again that both of them have dirt sensors, which I think is pretty cool because as you're going over your floor, you're going to be able to detect how often or if you should move on from one spot to another, given the fact that the sensors are going to tell you that the floors are dirty, and it's going to be visible as you're going over them. And both of these are going to be self-guided. So there's not a lot of pushing that you have to do because of how the rollers work. Now, before going through our tests, I just want to highlight our area. So we have 4 Pomeranians, and they have a lot of dog food. So you can see kind of like where our dogs come to eat. And what they tend to do, those of you who have pets, many pets like to take the food out of the plate and place it on the floor. So it's very common for us to find, dog food stains on our tile. And again, both of these products are going to be great when it comes to making sure that we can clean that up. Now this area probably is the dirtiest part of the kitchen because this is what leads to our backyard. And the dogs are constantly, when they go out to do their business, they come through here. When they come back, they come through here. And you can see that there's dirt on the floor, any kind of debris, because this is where they come through. So very dirty area for us in our home. So having this cleaned up is going to be important. And we're going to see how much it will pick up. Now, the other area that we'll highlight here is the part of the kitchen. You'll notice that in my case, I have really high cabinets. So both with the Dyad Pro and the Tenico, I have no problems with getting underneath the cabinets here. So you can see how high it is. It's going to make it on both sides. So in some cases, depending on which unit you prefer or you choose, you'll just want to see, can it actually go that low? And in my case, it's going to be able to because of, again, how high my cabinets are. Now, when it comes to mobility for both of these mops, what I'll highlight is that they have the same range of flexibility. So one of the things I want to highlight, I'm bringing this back. It's not just the fact that they tilt forward and back, but they can go side to side, right? So this is going to give you a lot of flexibility when you're moving around. So notice how I can tilt and how the head moves as well. That's a lot of range of motion, right? So that's going to make these really, really flexible when it comes to your home. Now, the Tenico has the same flexibility, so you notice you can just turn left and right without any problem. So it's not just up and down, although I find that the Roborock seems to have maybe a little bit more range. I'll have to check that out and see. All right, so here they are both side by side. We'll twist. We'll go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. We'll twist and we'll twist. I don't know if it's because the Roborock has a longer head to it, but it's almost like if it has more range. It may be that. Now this is where you can see the differences in the display. So the Tenico just has a massive display, very colorful, very bright. Both of them are bright, but I just love the size of this guy. This one, it looks great. I think that the Dyad is just smaller because of the fact that you have the water container in front, which makes it more accessible, but you can see the difference there. Now, this is going to be tricky on recording. You can see how that little red mark comes up. Every single time you see that comes up, that just means that it's a dirty area. As soon as it disappears, it means that it's taking care of it. So if you want to just go over something a couple times until you see that red mark going away, you'll know that you have a clean area. So we'll just stay here for a little bit to see how long it takes. And remember, we have 4 palms running around the house. So we have Nilda now taking control over the actual map, and you can see that red mark or red sign indicating that, floor is dirty. So we're going to go ahead and continue to clean with this one. And as far as movement goes, Nilda, what do you think about the movement? Is it easy to move around?
Very easy.
Very easy. So it's almost like self-guiding. Because of the motors that it has and the way it just operates, it feels like it's self-guiding. So now the cool thing about the robot is that when it finds a really dirty spot, it kind of like powers up. So we've heard it as it's going into that corner a couple times now, where it just like goes into superpower mode as soon as it sees that red bar coming up. There you go. Wow, pretty cool. Now one of the tests that we're doing is we're running the Tenico over the areas that we just covered with the Roborock, just to see if it detects that those areas are dirty. And it's actually not. So we haven't seen the color change at all. Now the one thing that we're noticing, and this is a comment that Nilda made and I've noticed it as well, that it seems that the Tenico is more self-driving, right? That you find that it kind of pulls itself, versus the Roborock doesn't seem to have that traction where it's pushing it or pulling itself, right? Would you say that's the case?
Yeah.
So we're seeing that, but you'll notice both of them are able to get down in the corners. The Roborock seems to get a little bit closer.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is test all the areas. We're doing like half of our kitchen with one unit and then another with the other. So we just went over around our island and it didn't detect any red signs. So what we're going to be doing is going over it with the Roborock to see if the Roborock detects any dirt that the Tenico didn't. All right, so now we're going to go over the same areas that the Tenico went through, and notice this. It's actually highlighting that it's dirty. Isn't that something? So, and this is the exact same area that the Tenico went over, but it's detecting that it's dirty. All right, why don't you, look at it again. Why don't you go back and let's see if it detects it over here. And it's detecting again dirt. So it seems like either the sensors on the Roborock are more sensitive to debris or to dirt, but the Tenico had just cleaned this and it passed, or everything was blue. It could also be that the Roborock is able to get closer to the corner and it's picking up stuff that the Tenico just isn't. Either way, it's detecting stuff that the other one didn't. Check that out. Wow.
Look at this. Good.
Wow. All right, so we switched the Dyad Pro to max mode, and what we're finding is that it's easier to move around. It moves probably as smooth as the Tenico does. You can hear our dogs are not too happy with the noise coming from it, but you can notice all the dirt detection that it sees there. We're going to put the Dyad Pro through a small torture test. We have several things on the ground. So first of all, we have some spilled ketchup. We also have some Fruit Loops. And we also have some coffee grounds that have just fallen on the floor. And really what this test is going to be about is how well will it clean up each one of those areas. Now, let's go ahead, and Nelda's going to be going through the actual test process with us. So she's going to start with the ketchup first. Let's go ahead and try that. Go back. Wow, it's gone. That was that was too fast. That was way too fast.
Sorry.
So that was way too fast. All right, next test is going to be the and let's go over it one more time because I want to see if the little red things came up. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the camera position and we're going to see, does it say there's anything there? No, look at that, it's gone. All right, so the next one we're going to do is the coffee ground. Let's go for the coffee ground, and we're going to take this angle. So you can see it says that it's sturdy. It's picking up the coffee ground, and we're going to see until it tells us everything is good. That was fast too, right? So we got all the coffee off the floor, and check it out. Has a little red. Let's see if it continues to do that. And now it's almost gone. But it picked up the grounds really, really fast. All right, so now this one, I don't know if it's going to survive. Fruit Loops. Let's go for the Fruit Loops. That's crunchy. Oh, the noise, the noise. Oh, that was painful. But it's gone. Holy smokes. Ha! What do you, let's see, what's the reading? All right, let's keep on going over it. Wow. That was pretty good. Still doing its job, making sure that area is clean. That was pretty cool. All right, guys, so now we're going to do the same test with the Tenico. We're going to see how well it does. And what we're going to do is after we go over the area with the Tenico, we're then going to go over it with the Roborock to see if it detects that it's still dirty. Let's go ahead and do that.
Shut down. Power off. Auto mode.
All right, that did pretty good. That was good. And it's saying that it's dirty. Let's make sure we get that nice and clean. That was fast. All right, that did well. All right, let's try the coffee. Coffee test is next. There you see, you can hear that it actually started sucking up more. We'll wait for that. Okay. All right, now let's move into the cereal. Ah, the pain. The pain. Uh-oh, look at what's happening here. It looks like it's spreading it around more. It's not crunching it up. Notice how it's just like spitting it all over the place? All right. Oh, there goes the... Okay. Well, I'd say that that is not quite a pass, right? Because it's a little bit more effort. It pushed the actual Fruit Loops around, and it wasn't as forceful when it sucked it up. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to make sure that that full area is clean. All right, so let's, you can see that it says it's clean. It says it's clean, right? No red signs. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and bring the Roborock. So that's what the area looks like. And you'll notice over there that it did kick a Fruit Loop over there. So let's go ahead and turn on the Roborock. All right. And the Roborock is finding that it's still dirty. Just a little bit. So you can see that. So that was the area that we just covered. All right, so let's take a look at how the Dyad container did with the Fruit Loops. So first of all, you can see all the gook in there. And remember, it has a strainer, so we can go ahead and do one of these things. Right, so you're able to do something like this, which I really like. And I know Nilda likes this as well, because then that's not going to go down your sink. And then what you can do is you can wash that out with just some clear water, and you toss that into the garbage. Right, so we go ahead and remove this guy right here. And then the inside, what you have is all the cereal. But, ew, you're going to have to get your hands dirty here with this guy, because it has kind of like a little strainer right here. But as you pour stuff out, and you do this thing, it kind of gets caught right there. I guess that's, the strainer is supposed to hold stuff back. But I have a strainer right there, right? There's some Fruit Loops left because I just washed the actual container from the Dyad. But this is going to be the problem with this guy here. Notice how it's not catching, like this little dam right here, if we want to call it that, that has the filter. Stuff is getting around and it's going to continue to go down, right? Look at that. Not much you can do there, right? Because it's going to try to capture some of it right there, but it's not going to capture it all. So that's another difference. All right, guys, so we basically cleaned the entire kitchen with the Tenico, and you're just going to see, I'm going to just go over our area. We try to keep the house as normal as it is, especially with our dogs around. You notice there's a little food plate there, a little water plate that they move around, and it says that everything is clean, right? So we go over here on the sides, you'll notice that it says it's clean. We literally thoroughly covered the entire floor. So what we're going to do now is, and pardon, my shifting of the camera because it's hard to kind of do this at the same time as we're recording, but what we're doing is once again confirming that the floor, according to the Tenico, is actually clean. So what we're going to do next is we're going to bring out the Roborock and we're going to see what it says. All right, so we're in the same starting position. We're going to turn on the Roborock, and we're going to go over the same areas. See that? Same areas we were a couple seconds ago. And we can see that it immediately detected that there's some dirt there. And it seems to be by the grout area. It's almost like the grout lines right there. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to go over the area that you just saw me go over, that the Tenico claimed was clean. And you can see that it's still detecting that it is dirty. Right? Now, we're not going to take the sensor's word for it. I'm going to go ahead and clean the entire floor again. I'm going to go through the same areas. Oh, there we go again. And we're going to see if it picks up any dirt that was left behind. Because, yeah, let's just say that the Roborock sensor is more sensitive. Well, we're going to know when we look at the dirty water, if there's any. All right, so let's go ahead and go over this. I'm going to go back right here one more time. Up, and you can see that it turned red again. Let's go ahead and do the test. All right, guys, so now let's take a look at the Tenico, and you can see this is what the Tenico picked up. Ooh, that's kind of messy, but you know, we have dogs. Now, once it picked that up, it said it was clean. This is what we just got out of the floor after it said it was clean. Check it out. Not good. Not good. Still dirty. And that's the kind of dirty that we took out of the floor after the Tenico said it was clean.
So guys, that wraps up a review of the Roborock Dyad Pro Wet and Dry Vac as you compare it to the Tenico Floor 1 S5. Needless to say, the Dyad Pro really outshined the Tenico. Even after cleaning the floor with the Tenico, I was able to go back with the Roborock and it found dirt. At first, I thought it was maybe the sensor that was just a little bit sensitive or oversensitive, but clearly when we did this test and we looked at what was captured in the dirty water container, the floor was still dirty. So that's all for today. See you in the next video.